PDX Real, community engaged reporting, authentic and unapologetic. We tell you what the news isn't reporting and the politicians don't want you to know. Perhaps you've already noticed that our governing needs your attention. Join the conversation. Find us in both long and short format at these channels. Hello, Portland. I'm Angela Todd. I'm with PDX Real, and I am going to talk to you this evening with a guest. This will be a really special interview, I think. So right now in Portland, we're experiencing a lot of trauma in our community based on what's going on with our drug epidemic, with meth and fentanyl particularly. And sometimes I post videos of people in the middle of their psychosis from drugs. And today we're going to talk with somebody who's on the road to recovery, been clean for some time, who I videoed and who contacted me. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on so we can hear a little bit about his story. Hi, Steven.
Hello.
Hello. So I think the first thing to do, and it might take me a second because we've had a little bit of technical issues today, but nothing we can't overcome. And I was going to pull open in just a moment the video that we did post of you, but I would like to ask you a little bit about this. Is going to be open-ended, just whatever comes to you. You contacted me about what it is that we're doing, and also what it is that was going on for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about the spirit in which you sent that message to me while I fish up that video on my drive?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had seen the video, and it was like looking at myself through someone else's eyes. I can't really explain how it made me feel, but it was not a good feeling. It was a feeling of regret, humility for sure, and just all my life's mistakes just coming to me at once, and it was not fun.
Yeah, and before we get too much further, I just want to say that I want to, number one, congratulate you on your recovery. Number two, I want you to know that you're loved by this community, and that that there is beauty in your honesty and also in you sharing your story. You know, before we came on today, we talked a few days ago and set this up. And I said, you know, I don't know what name you want to use. I think Steven is a pretty common first name. And so perhaps we can use Steven either way. So there's just not confusion. But we don't need to use your last name. And then, you know, you've been being accountable to your community in terms of those that are currently addicted, those who also are in recovery and on that path with you. And I was amazed by your bravery today when you said, you know, I do want to use my last name because if people are, if they're currently addicted and they see this and they're really needing, like, I want to be available to people like that. I want to make a difference. I want to give back to the community and be a light here. And, you know, I don't know how to emotionally express how amazing I think that is. But I personally could relate, you know, because in a small way, not everything you've gone through, but in the way that I use my name too. And you know, it's scary. It can seem scary before you do it. With that, I guess I'll pull open this video because I didn't really ask you anything. I just wanted to comment about that. So
82nd Avenue at the Black Bear Diner. What do you see here?
It'll just be a
Do you see a housing crisis? Or do you see something else?
that was it. I mean, it was 19 seconds, and it was just kind of my way of somebody had sent it to me. You were over at Black Bear Diner off at 82nd, right? And it was just my way of saying, this is not a housing crisis. It's not going to fix it. We have, and I didn't know what you had been using, or if, but it was apparent to me that you were using something, right? So,
Absolutely.
so can you tell us about that day and the few days around that?
So, uh, leading up to that day, I had uh, lost a job. Um, I got laid off, and I wasn't in the right headspace. I had started to fall back into character defects and stuff like that, and I I had relapsed. Um, and that had brought me to a point where I was I had decided to leave my home, leave my wife, and live in my truck. Uh, and it was one of the worst mistakes that I ever could have made. Um, uh, I was up for quite a few days, and that's the result of a drug-induced psychosis. Is exactly what you watched in the video. That is textbook drug psychosis. Um, you uh, you can't you can't get around it. So 9 times out of 10, the people who are using fentanyl or heroin, they are using meth at the same time, like I was, to stay up in order to get the funds or do whatever they had to do to get those drugs. So you're not going to be sick. Um, I mean, if you can imagine the worst flu times that by 100. I mean, if you could think about it, if you had the flu and it was so bad that you could not handle it, but you knew that there was something out there that could just wipe it away, you'd be out there searching for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So Stephen, when you, I mean, I know a bit of your story because we've talked a little bit, and how long have you been clean in recovery? This particular wonderful chapter.
this go round, so I've been clean about 60 days, a little over 60 days actually.
Yeah. Well done. And what was the catalyst for that? Like after the video, like, because you said to me, I don't know if this is right, but you said to me something like, I had seen PDX Real before I relapsed, and then I relapsed, and then I saw the video. I'm just curious about that. I don't know. I'm really curious.
So, so before, when I was actively working, I was in that moment, I was a functioning member of society.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, for most of the last 3 years, I've had quite a few relapses here and there, some really bad, some not so bad. Um, uh, but when I'm actively working and I'm clean, uh, I I become a headstrong, functioning member of society. And I love waking up and going to work every day. But it's when I have too much free time, that is that's when I start to fall. But to get back to your point, I periodically on my breaks I flip through Instagram and stuff like that, and your your social media account kept popping up, and I started following you. I listen to what you have to say. Your words ring really strong within the community. So why not press follow? Um, but then after my relapse, I had started to get clean. I had like a week clean, and then I had somebody, uh, an old project manager from work, call me and say, hey, I'm just wondering how you're doing. I just saw a video of you online, and I'm just making sure you're okay. I go, yeah, I'm clean. I've been clean for, I've been clean for a week now. I fell, but I'm clean now. And then he goes, well, there's a video of you online, and I watched it, and it really scared me. So um, I kind of brushed it off. I didn't think it was me. And then the following day, I had an old friend message me as well and say, hey, I'm praying for you. I saw your video online on Instagram, and I just want to let you know I'm praying for you. And he had messaged my family. I had messaged him back and say, hey, where did you find this video? And he said PDX Real. So I opened my Instagram, went to the video, or scrolled. I don't know. It was a couple of videos down, and then found it and watched it. And sure enough, it was me. So, and when I saw it, it was like I was looking through somebody else's eyes. Um, I did not like the emotions that I got from it, and it completely changed the way I look at myself.
But like, okay, so I hear this and I'm almost mortified because my intention, I mean, I get some heat from some people for the things that I post. And part of me is like, I want a reality check about what's going on in Portland, but your reaching out to me was good for me personally too. Not to say to people, look, there's somebody I filmed and he didn't have he felt like it was a good thing to see it, for example. I don't mean that type of energy. I mean the energy like it's important that in this work that all of us do in Portland, we need to be aware that these are like you're a real person, right? And so we all have the ability to make good choices and not good choices for ourselves at any given moment. And we're all out there sort of trying to make this life thing work. We all have trauma. We all deal with it in different ways. And life's a struggle. And I just have mixed feelings about whenever I hear that, right? I mean, I was contacted shortly after I posted it by someone, and I'm sorry, I get a lot of messages. And so, but as I recall, it was definitely somebody who knew you. It might have been a relative. I'm actually not sure. And they said, hey, where was this? Or what day was this? Because I said it was Black Bear Diner on the video. What day was this? Because, I know this person and we want to reach out and make sure he's okay. I found out at that point that you're a dad. And so I gave them as much information that I could, getting back to the person who shot the video and sort of the day and the timestamp and all that. And so it was really heartwarming to hear from you. And can you tell me, so I just wanted to say that, like, I don't feel like vindicated about it. Like, it's messy what I'm doing. It's messy, but I don't think just doing PowerPoints and showing like what the analysis is and not like showing what's on the street. I just don't. And there was a period of time where I just was like, I'm not blurring faces because, I mean, in a way, if people don't know you, they wouldn't necessarily know that was you. I mean, you look great, Steven. You're a good looking guy. And in that video, you look totally different. But it's about, it helps. This is not the first time a family member or somebody that loves somebody didn't see something and asked me to connect them. This is just the first time I'm talking about it. Anyway, I wanted to say that because I'm really not a scum bucket person. So I think both of us have a lot of redemption here. So when you saw yourself like almost third person, because you were already on your road to recovery, right? Do you think it made a difference for how you, like, do you think it did anything for you additionally? Or did it add shame?
I mean, not not so much shame because I mean, in the middle of my addiction, I I'm a completely different person. I want to thank you for sharing the video because honestly, it changed me. It when I saw it, I it was mainly humility that I felt. I was I was humbled. I was I I've done so much wrong inside my addiction to my family, uh, all of my loved ones, you know, and I mean being an addict, it's not a even if you even if you aren't stealing from your family, it's not a victimless crime. There are still people out there that love you, that care about you, and that want to see you succeed. Um, so it's, I mean, I can't really explain how it made me feel. Really, what impacted me this time was knowing that I was kind of at
Mm.
my wife was at her wit's end. And I mean, after she had came to meet me when I was living out of my truck numerous times, and uh, came to meet me, bring me food. Um, she would come get my clothes, take them home, and wash them. Um, and I mean, ultimately, it was honestly the video, seeing myself in that state of mind. And then I had talked to her about it briefly, and she was like, you look like that most of the time that I saw you." And one of the crazy things is I remember that she did those things for me, but I don't really remember seeing her. Um, and it made me sad, you know. Um,
God,
I
that's insane. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
So it's almost as if it's almost like this idea that like some of the people that we're interacting with out there, they're on fentanyl and meth, like they may not even remember the interaction,
no,
right?
no. Nine times, like I said earlier, 9 times out of
Oh,
10, you're you you're in a state of awareness, but you're you're not really aware of your surroundings. You're up for days, um, and you're down for days, and you have like a small window of in between where you have just woken up and you're alert, uh, but then you could be sick. So, I mean, what really what I really felt um, in those few days was I didn't want my wife to be around me. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. The only thing that I really had motivation for was fentanyl. That was it.
was fentanyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, can you walk me through? Gosh, I'm like struggling with how to ask these questions. So, let's just try to, because I'm trying to think like what kind of questions I have for you. So, when you were in your truck, like you're obviously staying somewhere in your truck for the night, and you're probably interacting with some other people that are also on the streets. You have to interact with drug dealers. Like, how did you know who to call to get more fentanyl? How were you were working and were laid off, so you had money in an account that you were probably liquidating out for drugs, right? Like, I have a lot of questions about how that worked.
Yeah. So, and I have a lot of answers. So mostly, my wife takes care of our finances because of this situation. So, um,
Yeah.
uh, like I had said earlier, when you are when you're sick, it's the flu times 100, and I'm going to do anything I can to not be sick. So,
Right.
unfortunately, I have I've stolen stuff out of my home, um, like things that my wife really cares about. Uh, I've done that throughout my addiction with all my family, unfortunately. Um, One of the things that I did um, in the beginning of my relapse is I I'm fairly clean when I'm just getting into a relapse. So it's really easy for me to, or it was really easy for me to pull into a parking lot of a Walmart or uh, Winco or anything for that matter, and say, hey, just walk up to random people and say, hey, I'm currently out of gas. I'm trying to get somewhere. Is there any way that you can help me out with a few dollars? And somebody's going to look at me, and they're not really going to think that I'm spending that money on drugs. You know, and that was one of the
And and it's true that fentanyl's like $1 or $2 a pill, right? So it doesn't take much.
um for some for some people it's that cheap. For other people, it was, $4 to $5 a pill. So no, it doesn't take that much. Personally, I wasn't using the pills. I was using the powder. So I
Right.
was really putting myself in danger.
And so how many times were you using a day?
About four. And you asked a question before, and about how I would call somebody to get drugs or where I would go, and it's
Right.
it, I just most of these people that I would go see, they were living in tents or the little box houses that you see, and that's who I would get my drugs from. Um, uh, a long time ago, back around 2016, I was homeless out here in the streets for 2 years of my life. And I've, like, all these people who are out here, I've known most of them for, since then.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Stephen. Um, I am, I am, I am so, I'm with you, man. I'm with you in this conversation. And I also want you to know that, like, there's this sense of like vulnerability with me, like asking these questions of you because it feels so personal and I don't know, like you're bare naked and I'm asking you questions and I want to just acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge that, you know? I mean, like it's I just my heart is really full of admiration for you and also like I'm just blown away at your I know enough about recovery to understand that being super honest and clean and clear is really important in your process of recovery. And at the same time, I just wanted to acknowledge what I'm hearing, you know, and don't worry, I'm just crying is my
Right.
superpower. I just
No,
cry you know, I'm when I feel moved. That's what it looks
I
like for
totally
me.
understand. And
Um,
I just real quick, I have no problem being vulnerable. I, uh, I have, like I had said before, I have I have taken money from people in vain. I have lied to them. I have told them, um, lies in order to get money to keep from being sick. And that's not necessarily an excuse, um, but that's why I was doing it. And if
yeah,
there is anything, if my vulnerability can say something or mean something to somebody, then I've done my job. I've done my part. If it can reach somebody
yeah,
and help them make sense, whether it be, you know, the grandma of a grandson who is addicted and who has had something stolen from her house, or, the mom that hasn't seen her son in 5 years because of drug addiction. If there is something that I can say, then that will touch somebody's heart, and that's why I'm doing this.
So how did you detox, Steven? Like you said that, your wife was, doing her best just to like, I think just stay connected to you. And and then, you saw the video and that kind of made a difference because you saw yourself third person. But did you go to one of the detox centers like at Hooper or Fora? Did you do it at home? Like what did that look
So
like?
I've been to two places um, a few months ago. So I started out, I went to Fora. I did detox there. But the horrible thing was that they only kept me there for 2.5 days. 2.5 days. And
Yeah,
that's not long enough. Um, I mean,
right.
given they did like a Suboxone like taper / transfer from fentanyl to Suboxone. Um, I was out and in 2.5 days, and I had not gotten hardly any of my cognitive ability back. Um, and then after like 2.5 3 weeks after that, I went to TRC. It was Tiger Recovery Center, and that's through CODA, and I was there for a month.
Okay. And that's you said
Hmm.
Tigard Recovery Center? Okay. And that's in
Yeah.
the city of Tigard. I haven't heard of it before. Okay. And did you have to get a referral into the Tigard Recovery Center?
No, you had to be put on a waiting list though, which I'm.
So for
Pardon me. You
sorry, go
just
ahead.
you had to be put on a waiting list, and sometimes
Yeah.
that could take up to, it could be as soon as 3 weeks, or it could be as long as 2 months out. So, and that, I mean, that was kind of the scary part for
Wow.
me, is that I didn't really want to wait, you know, uh, 2 months to get into a recovery center. That wasn't, it almost didn't feel like an option for me. Um, and I mean, it scared the heck out of my wife too. Um,
So how much time did you have between Fora and the facility
it
in Tigard
it was
ultimately?
about uh, 3 weeks.
So you just went home and it was sort of a little bit of like white knuckle for both you
Hmm.
and your wife,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And you know, I want to know for people that are out there, because you described maybe being in like the Winco or Home Depot parking lot, even in the video that we showed of you, like if you were somewhat not that high, it wouldn't have been super, you clean, nice looking guy. So I have a pro. I always tell people, do not give people money. Do not succumb to the panhandling. Like it's not good, and you're not helping people along. And I think that some of the handouts that our city and specifically our county does are not good. But my question for you is like, what would your advice be for family members or people out in the community when they encounter and they counter people and they want help? Like what does that look like? What would you recommend?
I'm really sorry, I don't have any cash on me. But I
Got it.
mean, so I mean, I get that a lot too. I mean, even though I am an addict, I I'm I'm working now. So I I drive my truck to work. I pull into, a Plaid Pantry or, a 7-Eleven in the morning, and I get asked the same thing, and I don't carry cash on me for that reason. And on top of that, I just came back from a relapse. So if I don't have cash on me, then that's one more thing that stops me if I am falling back in. That's one more thing that I have to think about, um, before I go get dope. I have to get cash, you know. So I put
Mhm.
these little things in place. That way, I have to think about what I do before I do it. because me being me, I am a very impulsive person.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Um, so you told me that you have a sense of debt that you want to pay, or beyond that, just something you want to give back to the community after what's happening with you. And I think, I mean, even this interview is part of that. And I guess I want to ask you, Stephen, this is so crazy. Like, at first, I just started doing this thing and then it's growing a lot. And what I'm realizing is there's a little bit of everyone in our followers, right? And so we totally have people that are currently using meth and fentanyl
Hmm.
that follow us. I know that sounds, I mean, some of them
Right.
contact me. A lot of times they won't tell me at first, but it comes up over time, or they'll say, "Hey, I finally got clean from fentanyl," and I'm like, "Well, we didn't talk about
Right.
that." But anyway, for what that's worth. So my question is, I guess I want to ask you: is there anything that you want those people to know about your journey, or like, is there anything you want to say to them?
I mean, first of all, if anybody watches this and recognizes me, and I've asked you for money or you have given me money, I would I would like to apologize. I I owe the biggest apology. I wasn't in my right state of mind. Um, I I've I've came a long way from where I was before. I've been to prison. I it, it all started out with a knee injury when I was 15. Just a knee injury. The doctors gave me a prescription. I
Wow.
went home. My mom had them. She gave them to me as prescribed, but when she gave them to me, I enjoyed them, and that later developed into um, a give and take relationship with my grandmother. That was a horrible, horrible relationship. Um, I would, when my grandma was out of her medication, I had it, and when she was out of, or when I was out of mine, she had it, and it was like if I would have known when I was younger where I was going to be now, I would have done a lot of things different. A lot.
Um, so when you think about people that might be out there and watching this, do you feel like do you have anything in hindsight where you feel like you can kind of reach in and reach people, or do you feel like when people decide to clean up, you never know what's going to trigger them, and we just need to make sure that we're not sort of feeding the habit with giving them cash? And
Right.
I don't know, like, do you see? Is it? I like what you said. I just wanted to know if there was anything more where you felt like what people need to hear, because Stephen, I feel like the county is doing a horrible job outreaching, caseworking to people. And I know that also the people that can love people and reach them the most are people in the community. I feel like people that are family. And so I feel like this is our problem in Portland.
Hmm.
And I want to help be a navigator for people, but I don't sometimes I just tell them what's available and to call me if they need something. And I can't be that way for everybody. But is there anything else you think would be helpful for people to like be the change in the community that needs to happen with our drug epidemic?
Um, I shoot. I wish that I could say that it was as easy as, I mean, as big as a budget as we have right now for these situations. We should be able to open a facility, and people should be able to drive around that work at that facility and say, "Hey, do you want to go to treatment today? Hey, would you like to go to treatment today?" So, me as an addict, everybody's
Right.
bottoms, everybody's bottom, their lowest point in their addiction is going to be different. You know, my bottom was seeing myself on a very popular social media page. Um, it was embarrassing, yet it was humbling. Um, but somebody else's bottom might not be that. You know, somebody else,
Right.
somebody else's bottom could, be, coming extremely close to death. And unfortunately, the people that are still out here are not going to be ready until they're ready.
Right.
I can tell you right now that there are a lot of people out there that are in their tent and they're using and they are crying because they want it to stop. But to tell you the truth, those individuals, if they if it was just as easy as somebody coming by once a day and saying, hey, would you like to go to treatment today? If it was that easy, this issue would be a lot less severe than it is now. That is.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I mean, I just did an interview that I'm going to put out alongside yours with Kevin Dahlgren, who's a drug and alcohol counselor, has been for 25 years, and they were able to make a significant impact of 400 people in just a few years, that they got down to under 10 just by daily activity, asking them, like, letting them know this is available. Do you want to go to treatment today? Like, just over and over, and sort of navigating them there. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Steven, I want to tell you that I am so honored to be this small part of your journey, and I'm your friend, and I love you, Steven, and I mean, I know that we offline have each other's information, and so I know that you have a pretty decent support network, but I want you to know that I'm one of those people. So you let me know, because sometimes, like, you might have a moment, you can't reach anybody or whatever, and you can reach me.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. It does.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't need to get into where you're working, but you're working and you got a really cool job, and it's actually a great job, and that's making you, you like what you do. You're being helpful to other people. You're making a difference out in the community, and onward and upward. I mean, these challenges in life it'll make you able to see things that other people can't. So your wisdom today, thousands of people will see this, and I think it's going to help the community grow. It's really cool hearing it from you about your experience directly. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to say goodbye to Steven for now. Steven, maybe we'll have you pop back in and tell us how you're doing, and I'll make sure that I get you all the feedback that people give me after they see this, okay?
That sounds good.
Maybe not all of it, but the highlights.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I'll call you after I end this.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.